Hello, boys and girls. I'm so excited to be back with you during Listen and Learn. Boys and girls, we have been listening to all sorts of fables. We know that our fables are short stories. We know that our fables are fiction. We know that sometimes our fables have animals that can act like people for our characters. And we know that our fables teach us a lesson. Well, boys and girls, we're going to get ready to start listening to some folk tales. Let's say folk tales 3 times. Folk tale, folk tale, folk tale. Now, a folk tale is very similar to a fable, except for a folk tale is a little bit of a longer story. It's a made-up story from long ago that was passed down from person to person. So like when I tell you this story, maybe you go and tell mom this story. Mom's like, oh man, what a great story. And she goes and tells grandma, and grandma tells her best friend Sue. And we've passed this story on and on and on. And these stories have been around for years. And finally someone said, this is such an amazing story. I'm going to write it down and make a book. And that's where these stories have come from. Now you actually probably have heard of some pretty famous folk tales. Maybe you've heard of the story Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Goldilocks, and the Three Bears, Stone Soup. Maybe you've heard these stories and didn't even know you were hearing old folk tales. So we're going to start hearing a few folk tales that are very similar to our fables, and we learn a lesson or a moral at the end. So boys and girls, our folk tale that we're going to hear today is called The Little Half Chick. Medio Pollito, the Little Half Chick. And like every story that we listen to, it may have some words that maybe we hadn't heard before, or maybe we need to talk about. One word is the word abandoned. Can you say that? I'll say it and you echo it back. Abandoned. Now the word abandoned means to be given up completely. Like, I abandoned the idea of never eating chips again because I had to give up that idea. Mrs. Becker could never give up chips. Our next word is brood. That's a family of young animals or children. For example, the brood of little ducklings stayed close to their mother. Our next word is stream, which is a small body of running water. At our house, we call a stream a creek. Maybe you call it a tiny river. But we're going to be talking about a stream in our story. Another word is stubborn. Can you say stubborn? Now, if you refuse to say it, you're being stubborn. Stubborn means refusing to change your mind or refusing to do something. And our last word is waste. Can you say that? Waste is to use something carelessly. For example, if I only needed a tiny piece of paper and I use this instead, that would be so wasteful to use a big piece. So let's sit back and get ready to listen to our story of Medio Pollito. Be sure to listen carefully to see if you can learn the lesson. Once there was a hen who had a large brood of little chicks. Do you see this brood? All of those family. They were all fine, plump, and round little birds, except for the youngest. He was quite unlike his brothers and sisters. He looked as if he'd been cut right in half. All of his brothers and sisters had 2 wings, 2 legs, 2 eyes, but he only had 1 wing, 1 leg, 1 eye, half of a head, and half of a beak. Oh, his mother shook her head sadly when she looked at him. Oh, poor thing, he's only a half chick. His mother called her youngest hen Medio Pollito, which in Spanish is the same as half chick. Can you say Medio Pollito? She thought he would never be able to take care of himself. She decided that she would have to keep him at home to take care of him and look after him. But Medio Pollito had a very different idea. Medio Pollito turned out to be a very stubborn little chick. Even though his brothers and sisters did exactly as they were told to do, Medio Pollito did not. When his mother called for him to come back to the chicken house, he would hide in the cornfield. Sometimes he would pretend that he couldn't hear her because he only had one ear. The older he became, the more willful and stubborn he became. He would not listen to his mother and was often rude to his brothers and sisters, even though they were always nice to him. One day, Medio Pollito strutted up to his mother and made an announcement. I'm tired of life on this dull barnyard. I'm going to Madrid to dine or have dinner with the king. Madrid, exclaimed his mother. Why, that is a long journey, even for a grown-up. You aren't even old enough to go to Madrid yet. Wait a bit. When you're a little bit older, we can all go together. But stubborn Medio Pollito had made up his mind. He would not listen to his mother or his brothers or sisters, all who pleaded and begged for him to stay. I'm going to Madrid to dine with the king, he declared. And when I get there, I will make my fortune. I will make a lot of money, and I will live in a big house. Maybe I will invite the rest of you to pay me a visit. With that, he turned and hopped with his one leg. His mother ran after him and called out, Be sure to be nice to everyone you meet. But Medio Pollito did not listen. He was in a hurry and, as usual, was thinking only of himself. Medio Pollito hopped on until he came to a little stream of water. If you look in our picture, you'll see our little stream of water that was being choked with weeds, so full of weeds. Oh, Medio Pollito, the stream called. Please help me by pulling some of the weeds so I can flow freely. Help you? Exclaimed Medio Pollito, tossing his head and shaking a few feathers in his tail. Do you think I have time to waste to do that sort of thing? Help yourself. Don't bother busy travelers like me. I'm off to Madrid to dine with the king. And away he hopped. So did Medio Pollito help the stream? No, he did not. A little later, Medio Pollito came to an abandoned fire that had been left by some campers. Oh, Medio Pollito, the fire said, please toss some sticks on me so I won't burn out. Huh, said Medio Pollito. Do you think I have time to waste to do that sort of thing? Help yourself. Don't bother busy travelers like me. I am off to Madrid to dine with the king. So did Medio Pollito help the fire? No. The next morning, he was nearing Madrid, getting close. Medio Pollito came upon a large chestnut tree in which the wind had gotten tangled up. Oh, Medio Pollito! said the wind. Won't you climb up here and help me get myself untangled? Oh, it is your own fault for going so high up there, said Medio Pollito. And besides, do you think I have time to waste to do that sort of thing? Help yourself and don't bother busy travelers like me. I am off to Madrid to dine with the king. And away he hopped. He was so excited to meet the king that he hopped right into the courtyard without any hesitation. The king's cook spotted him and yelled, "You would make a nice dinner." The cook scooped up Medio Pollito in his hand and took him back to the kitchen and tossed him in a pot of water. Then he set the pot on the burning stove. Medio Pollito is getting very wet. Oh, water, don't soak me like this. But the water replied, "You did not help me when I was the little stream choking with weeds. Why should I help you now?" Then the fire replied. Then the fire on the stove began to heat the water. Medio Pollito felt very hot. "Oh, fire," he cried, "don't cook me like this." But the fire replied, "You would not help me when I was about to burn out, so why should I help you now?" The fire got hotter and hotter, and the heat was unbearable. Medio Pollito grew more and more desperate to escape. Just then, the cook raised the lid of the pot to see if the soup was ready. "Oh, what's this?" said the cook. "Oh, I have overcooked the chicken. Oh, he's all blackened and burnt to a crisp. I cannot serve this to the king." The cook grabbed Medio Pollito and threw him out the kitchen window. With a gust, the wind caught him and carried him away so fast that he could hardly breathe. "Oh, wind," Medio Pollito cried, "don't push me around like this. Please set me down." But the wind replied, "You would not help me when I was caught in the tree, so why should I help you now?" And with that, the wind lifted Medio Pollito up, up, up in the air to the top of a building and left him stuck atop a house. And that is where you will find Medio Pollito to this very day. If you go to the Madrid and you look to the tallest house in town, you will see a black weather vane in the shape of a half chicken turning in the wind. That is Medio Pollito, the chick who would not help others. Now he stays there and helps everyone by showing them which way the wind is blowing forever. Boys and girls, that is the story of Medio Pollito. And just like our fables, this folktale had a lesson. What do you think the lesson might be? I think the lesson is, first, if we go back way to the beginning of the story, his mother's advice was be nice to everyone. I think our first lesson should be always listen to your mom. And we know that his mom gave great advice. If Medio Pollito had been nice to the stream, the fire, and the wind, they would have helped him. But instead, he chose to be very selfish. And in the end, it did not work out for Mr. Medio Pollito. So, boys and girls, I would love for you tonight to draw me a picture of one thing that happened in the story and write a sentence about one thing that happened to the story. If you'd like to write more, I think that would be fantastic. So when you are done, take a picture of your sentence and take a camera picture of your picture and writing and submit it for our homework tonight. Thank you. See you again for another folk tale.